going on, everybody? Westside MMA here, and we got another MMA Tycoon tutorial video. This episode is about setting fight tactics and predicting opponent fight tactics to have a more successful outcome in your fights. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to one of my fighters. I have an upcoming fight and probably currently my best fighter. Not best skilled fighter, but best fighter just because he's in a somewhat easy organization. I still like this organization, but MMA Helsinki, but it's for fighters like this that are kind of, 32, but he's really not all that good. If you look at his stats, he's got a lot of ones and stuff, so yeah. He's more of a, he's pretty much just a boxer. So that's that. So what you do is for every fighter, you go down to the fight tactics part, which is down here. And you start off with follow my orders or see how it goes. This determines whether your fighter is going to follow your orders, which means do what the fight tactics sliders say, or see how it goes, uses your fighter's IQ and kind of decides on his own if what he wants to do and if he's going to change the game plan or stuff like that. Swing for fences or stick to game plan. This is similar. It's whether you want to stick to the game plan, which is your sliders, or kind of go into Diego Sanchez mode and just swing for the fucking fences. Swing seconds versus swing seconds. This is, I believe, with how many seconds left in the fight. When you're losing, are you just going to start going crazy and just going like just throwing and potentially getting yourself knocked out? So this, I just put 25 seconds. I think I'm going to raise it a little. I'll put it up to 30. That's fine. That really, I don't know. It's whatever. Fight for decision or stick to game plan, same thing-ish. You want to stick to your game plan, whatever your game plan is, or do you want to, if you're winning the fight, do you want to, coast along and just win by decision? And then fight for decision seconds is just with how many seconds left in the fight. If you're up, so it's the opposite of swing seconds. If you're up in the fight with how many seconds left, do you want to just coast along? And for this fighter, because this guy's just a straight-up finisher, I said 5, which is the lowest you can choose. Knockdown, follow, or don't follow. You can put this here, or in the middle. So that's kind of obvious. Do you want him to, if he gets a knockdown, do you want him to follow 100% of the time, 50% of the time, or 0% of the time? So my guy's a stand-up fighter, no ground game barely at all. So I say don't follow. Then you go down to stand-up. Damage or accuracy. When it comes to this slider, you never want to go past like this point right here on either side, because if you go way too accurate, you're not going to have anything behind your punches at all. And then if you're way too much towards damage, you're going to have you're going to gas out a lot easier. And then aggressor or counter, same deal. You don't want to go past this part right here on either side. Because if you go way too much towards counter, you're never going to, initiate a striking exchange. You're always going to be waiting on your opponent. And then if you go all the way towards aggressor, you're going to gas yourself out and possibly get knocked out from a counter puncher. Stay standing or try takedowns. This slider, it says read the instructions, because this slider is not what you think it is. If you're a wrestler and you want to shoot for takedowns a lot, you still only want to go maybe 10 to 25%. Maybe 30% at the maximum, because that's what it does. Is it's like a calculation where it says what percentage of the fight do you want your fighter shooting for takedowns? Pretty much, I guess, is the best way to explain it. So if you go any more than like 30%, your fighter's going to be shooting for takedowns. If you say you put it at the halfway point, your fighter's going to be shooting for takedowns half of the entire fight, which is going to become really predictable, and you're just going to get knocked out or taken down and laid on top or whatever's going to happen. But it's just not good. My fighter's a boxer, so 0% on that. So I'm not shooting for any takedowns. Try to clinch or stay on the outside. This one, I'm not 100% sure if it's the same as the takedowns, but I treat it that way. So what percentage of the time do you want your guy kind of trying to clinch? So I did a little bit. I probably did like 3 to 5% right here, because I want him to clinch a little bit, but not. He's more of a stay on the outside type of fighter, for sure. Boxer. Single shots or combos, same thing here. I wouldn't go, even if you want your guy to throw a lot of combos, I would only go like 30, 35%. And probably not even that much, just because the more combos you throw, the more your fighter's going to get gassed out. Punch or kick, this is the same deal. Obviously, in a fight, your fighter, even if your guy is like a Muay Thai kickboxer type fighter, you don't want him throwing more kicks than punches. I mean, unless you do, that's up to you. But really, in a fight, you're going to throw more punches than kicks. So that's that. Head punch, body punch, same thing. Those are all kind of self-explanatory. High kick, low kick. You want your guy to throw more low kicks most of the time. It's just realistic. It's what you see in real life. But that's kind of up to you. It's up for experimenting. Counter strike or counter grapple. Once again, if your fighter is actually, this one's a little bit different, because I think most of the time, even if you are like a guy who likes to clinch or get takedowns a lot, you still want to counter strike a little bit more. Just because whatever. But this fighter, I'm actually going to change to right about there. So counter strike there. So he counter grapples a little bit, 5% or so. Counter strike or counter takedown. This one, counter clinch. All right, counter clinch or counter takedown. Yeah, he's gonna be more of a clincher, way more of a clincher. So we'll go there. And then up to clinch work. Aggressor or control. This is obviously. Do you want to control it, or do you want to be more of a guy who gets in the clinch, just starts throwing punches, just to throw punches and maybe catch your opponent? Stay standing or go to the ground. That means when you're in the clinch, do you want to try to take it to the ground, whether it be as you see down here, a takedown or a pull guard. That's that. Stay in clinch or break clinch. That's whether when you're in the clinch, do you want to stay in the clinch or do you want to break the clinch? So this has been working for me. I don't know. Usually I go all the way towards stay in clinch. But for this guy, if I'm not in a dominant position, I kind of want to break the clinch. So I kind of put it there. Strike or stall. Same deal as the control thing. Do you want to stall, or when you're in the clinch, you want to stall and kind of do whatever? Or do you want to strike? I'm going to actually move this a little bit towards that, because that's not what I really want. We'll stay about here. Attack head or attack body, same thing. That's kind of up to you, to be honest. Punch head or knee, elbow head. Obviously, in the clinch, the elbows and knees are going to be more powerful, just because that's obvious. But yeah, so elbow or knee head. I've got all the way toward elbows, because I don't think my fighter has knees yet. No, he doesn't. See, his knees are 1. His elbows are 6, which isn't anything better, but that's fine. Okay, and then punch body or knee body. Obviously punch, because that's all he's got is his punches. And then the whole pull guard or takedown thing. So if you got a jiu-jitsu guy who's really good off his back, you're going to go all the way towards pull guard or wherever. I mean, you could go anywhere. Ground top or ground bottom. Obviously, this fighter is going to be all the way. Well, I don't know. That was working for me. I'm not going to mess with it. But a little bit towards ground top, I guess, or bottom. And then stick position. This is the position that is your most. Your fighter will go to and stay on the ground. He won't try to advance from this position anymore. And since he's not a ground fighter, I do back none, because none is fine. Because I don't want him really, unless you say mount. If you have a wrestler, you're going to want to go mount. And then if you have a jiu-jitsu guy, I like doing guard bottom, I guess, depending on if you want to do that or not. Usually it's usually a pretty good idea if your guy's a really good submission guy. Aggressor or counter when you're on the top. Counter. is going to be more like you wait for your opponent to try to get up and then you kind of counter it. I think as long as you're not trying to finish the fight on the ground, you're just trying to control. You want to go a little bit more towards counter. If your guy's a crazy ground and pound guy, I would go a little bit more towards aggressor. Stay on the ground or get up. This is a percentage thing. While you're on the ground, what percentage of the time do you want your guy to try to get up or whatever? But when you're in the top position, you don't need to get up. So, I don't know. But I'm not going to touch it because my fighter's been doing so good, I don't want to mess with too much. But usually I do all the way towards stand ground for everybody. Because if you're on the ground, you're on the top. You want to stay on the ground and on the top. Usually, unless your opponent's a submission guy, then that's a different story. But, yeah. Finish or control. That's obvious. Do you want to control or do you want to go for the finish? So I say control because Peter Griffin's not really the best, I guess, on the ground, as I said. So if he's on the ground on top, I want to just control the situation. Strike or sub, obviously strike. Because if I do get on the ground, I just want him to throw punches and kind of just stay where he is. Don't advance position. Just if you're in guard, just stay in guard. Be careful and just throw punches and score some points. Ground strikes or ground subs, all the way towards ground strikes for him, just because he doesn't do submissions. For a submission fighter, you're going to want to go almost all towards ground subs, probably. With a little bit of striking on top, obviously, so you want to go maybe around this, quarter point right here. Powerful or accurate ground and pound. I left it in the middle because whatever, but you can go a little bit towards either side, but I wouldn't go past the, quarter point either on this one. Bottom positions, aggressor or counter. This is the same deal, even though I'm not sure why I have it more towards counter. I'm not going to touch it, but usually for a guy who's a stand-up guy that wants to get up, you want to go a little bit more towards aggressor, so he's aggressive on trying to get up. But not too aggressive because then he'll tire himself out. Stay on the ground or get up. This is another thing. The percentage of the time you want your guy to try to stand up, so I guess this works for me. Usually I would go like right here and then do a little bit less here just so my guy doesn't tire himself out trying to get up, but I haven't had any issues, so I'm leaving it. Finish or control on the bottom. Well, control. I don't even know why I have anything towards finish, but that's fine. I'm not going to touch it. Usually I'll go pretty much like way over here. Because when you're on the bottom, you just want to control the situation and kind of stop your opponent's strikes and stuff. Strike or sub and advance position. On the bottom, you want to advance your position. You don't want to just sit there and strike from the bottom. Though that does score you points sometimes, it's not what you want. And then ground strikes or ground subs on the bottom, all the way towards ground strikes because I don't have any subs. And then you hit update. Now, for the predicting opponent's tactics. That's when you have a fight scheduled, it's going to be all the way at the bottom of every of your fighter page. And it brings up a picture of your opponent right here and gives you these options. So what I usually do is I'll open the other fighter in a new tab. I'll go to him and I'll look at his record and say, okay, he's got 11 subs, 11 wins. He's going to go for submissions. And then the only thing else I do is I might look at his fight commentaries and look and see, okay, so his name is Betten. So I'll say, okay, takedown, sub. Takedown, sub. I'll look for clinching too, see if he does any clinches. He doesn't really go for clinches, it looks like, so he just goes for takedowns and submissions. So for the whole stand-up thing, usually if it's a guy who doesn't have knockouts, I'll go a little bit more towards accuracy. But this doesn't, this is, you're either going to go a little bit more towards damage or a little bit more, same thing as, your fighter, so it's not a big deal, but whatever. Aggressor or counter. Considering he's a takedown guy, I'm going to go a little bit more towards aggressor because he's not going to be a countered puncher. He's going to be an aggressor and go for takedowns. Stay standing or try takedowns. I went almost all the way towards try takedowns just because he's going to spam takedowns. Try to clinch or stay on the ground or stay on the outside. I can't read. He wasn't clinching at all in any of his fights that I saw, so all the way towards stay on the outside. Single shots or combos. You usually obviously don't want to go too much towards combos. This is kind of treat this the same way as I always, for 99% of the time, I'll go all the way, around this area. Punch or kick, probably doesn't kick very much, so almost all the way towards punches. Head punch, body punch. Usually, they'll throw in body punches, 10-15% of the time or whatever. Usually, maybe a little bit more, like right around here would be good, but it's fine. High kicks, low kicks, doesn't throw kicks, so, if you're going to throw a kick, it's going to be a low kick. And then leg kick or body kick, more towards leg kicks. And then stand-up counters. Is he going to counter grapple? Yes. If you're fighting a guy who's a striker, most of the time you're going to go around this area, because in a fight, you usually start the fight standing and you're going to stay standing, but when you're fighting a fighter that's a straight-up ground fighter, you're going to go all the way towards grapple just because you're going to predict that he's going to spam. He's not even going to try to stand with you, so put it over here. Counter clinch or counter takedown, all the way towards counter takedown because he wasn't clinching at all. And then this right here is adapt to fight. You can uncheck this or check this. I always check it. 100% of the time I check it just because this lets your fighter rely on his This pretty much says, do you want your fighter to not rely on his IQ at all? Or do you want your fighter to kind of use his IQ and decipher whether he wants to change some of his fight tactics depending on if some of these are wrong? If he's being more of a counter puncher for some reason, it's going to adjust that slightly. And then you hit update, and then you're all good to go. So that's that for setting fight tactics. So, till next time, Westside MMA, out.